cuss and howl. But ho, 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 who's got the last laugh now?
This is Ryely Laurence. I am, or this is? Should it be? I should change that. I am Ryely Laurence, and this is The Life of Ryely, my weekly podcast. www.borntokillcomedy.com, Facebook Born to Kill Comedy, Podomatic streaming live Born to Kill Comedy, and of course on YouTube. Do I need to say it? .com. Today I'm going to do a segment. First of all, I feel like I'm going to go on a limb today because this is a different look, right? I feel like I would just chill around the house, maybe not like this, maybe without the vest and the hat and just the t-shirt, but I put this on and I'm looking at myself in the monitor and I feel a little bit like Schneider from One Day at a Time. Maybe this is like, right? Remember Schneider, the guy with the keys? And Mrs. Romano. I feel like maybe this is maybe I should change. All right, who cares? Let it roll. We'll just let it go. We'll let it go. I liked Schneider. I did. Is he still alive? Pat? Was his name Pat Schneider? Or was it Pat something? I don't know. Google it. But I'll tell you this. I always expected the Romanos to come home, and Schneider had that pass key, you know what I mean? And they'd come home and he'd be rummaging through Valerie Bertinelli's underpants drawer. That's a little perverted, but not that I would be. Well, maybe I would be. Although I'm such a Van Halen fan right now, I'd be rummaging through Eddie's underpants drawer. And that's strange because it's just strange. But I like Eddie more than Valerie. Sorry. Even though I like David more than I like Eddie and Valerie put together. And by David, I mean David Lee Roth. Of course, he is Van Halen to me. But that's not what this show is about. Maybe we could talk about that another time. I want to do a segment called So I Was There. And for those of you that don't know what So I Was There means, it's just a life experience that I'm just going to throw out there. And I don't have to set it up with anything. I can just say, so I was there. And we can just go straight to that. And I have a whole bunch of them here. The one I want to do is, I'm going to do Chris Farley, because I'm a huge Chris Farley fan, mainly a huge Chris Farley fan because I am a bigger John Belushi fan, and Chris Farley was an incredible John Belushi fan. I felt like I shared that with him. I got to know Chris Farley limitedly. It's a strange story, so I'm going to tell it. So I was there. And I was there 1994, 1995. I was in New York. I was working for a famous comedian, Jackie Mason, for many years. And I did a number of things. I would go out to lunch, though, in that area and bring a little something back. Particularly, he liked Frankie and Johnny's Steakhouse. He liked a chopped salad. I don't want to get into it, but he liked a chopped salad. I'm talking about Jackie, of course. And I would pick up just chopped lettuce and tomatoes and blue cheese on the side. And I would pick this up occasionally and go for lunch myself. That's very close to NBC Studios, Saturday Night Live, 30 Rock. And I would often see Chris Farley there, lunching, strangely enough, by himself. Occasionally he had a elder black gentleman that took care of him, drove him, hung out with him, I guess, but it was an employee. But Chris ate there by himself, and I approached him one day and told him I was a comedian. I told him my love for Saturday Night Live and John Belushi, and we immediately had a connection. And on a number of occasions, I would sit with him. I was very fortunate. It was very incredible. And we talked about Belushi. And we talked about Saturday Night Live and Lorne Michaels and the cast and the crew. And at that time was an incredible cast. Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, Sarah Silverman. These were my faves, for sure. See, I'm having a flashback now. You know, it's interesting. I performed in New York. The first place I did perform, and many times performed, at the world-famous comic strip on 82nd Street and 2nd Avenue. And I remember I got a call back. And that means you're going to pass your audition and become a regular there and pop in. And it was very difficult to do. There was a manager there who was in charge of that. They called him the gatekeeper. His name was Lucian Hold. He's passed away. May he rest in peace, Lucian. But they called him the gatekeeper because he was the man who held the key to whether or not you were going to perform as a regular at the comic strip. And I got a call back. And this was going to be it for me. I had a tight set and things were good. And I got there and they had the lineup. And I was going to go up after an unknown at that time, Sarah Silverman. And I thought to myself, oh, thank God. It is still my true belief that most chicks, pretty chicks, aren't funny. I think if you either have to be fat, a lesbian, or very unattractive to be funny if you're a girl. And if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and name some. Can you think of any? None, right? To me, Sarah Silverman is beautiful. I like Sarah Silverman. Some people don't agree with me. I think she is. But aside from her, Lucille Ball, I can't think of any. And it's not their fault. It's actually men and their drive for only thinking about sex. Because I've always said this. If you're a chick and you're good looking and you're going to start talking about your boobs and your boyfriend and having sex and orgasms, immediately guys in the audience are visualizing you doing all those things. That's so you're less funny and now we're more perverted. We're more perverted than you are funny. But Sarah Silverman to me was the exception. And think for a second, can you think of any hot female comedians that aren't either gay, fat, or ugly? Can you think of any beautiful, straight, skinny comedians? Right? No. Maybe I should put in, or they're no, I'll just leave it at that. I stand behind that. Lucille Ball and Sarah Silverman. Outside of that, I can't think of any myself. I'm hard-pressed. My point is, I thought for sure this chick would not be funny. And I was all cooked up. I was a little nervous, ready to go though. I followed her. And she brought the house down. Brought it down. I don't want to say it was like trying to follow the Beatles, but it was, I remember Lucian didn't watch my set after Sarah Silverman because he was so caught up on Sarah Silverman. He left with her, like into his little bar area to talk to her, and I fell through the cracks. But back to Chris Farley. So I had these conversations with Chris about Saturday Night Live and mainly about Belushi. And he, as I did, and we shared this, used to say he wanted to be like John Belushi. And I wanted to be like John Belushi. I used to have a pact with God, Chaz v'shalom, but I would say if I'm going to go at 33, like John Belushi did, and Jesus, that'd be fine, provided, you know, I used to think I was going to die at 33. And then 33 came along and I was very scared because I wasn't anywhere nearly as successful as I wanted to be. I was going over stipulations in my contract, but because of Belushi. And actually that's part of the reason why I moved out to exactly where I am now. I am within spitting distance to Chateau Marmont, where John checked out in 82. So my point is, we shared this, Chris and I. Chris actually did pass away when he was 33. Very similar to John Belushi. I'm glad I didn't. I wish he didn't, and I wish John didn't. But I do remember having those conversations very vividly, and I'm very fortunate. And then when he did pass, they came to me, WOR, Channel 9 News. They knew that I had been friendly with him because I had been doing some other stuff for WOR, and they asked me if I would have a little explanation, perhaps, of why Chris did. And I did, and I'm going to play it for you right now. Yeah, don't judge me for the way that I look. I was looking more like John Belushi in this clip, but it's always been a very a very special memory to be able to meet Chris Farley and have that connection with him. So there I was. Here comes the clip.
Farley. An autopsy has been performed, but no results have been released.
Farley was one of the kings of comedy, but what may have played a role in his death is no laughing matter. In tonight's story, Behind the Story, we take a look at the health factors that have sent other entertainers to their graves and how they may have contributed to Farley's death.
I wear special pants.
He made it look easy, but the stress of being on top in the comedy business took its toll on 290-pound Christopher Farley.
It's a total dog-eat-dog business.
Stand-up comedian Larry Tompkins says at 28, he already has 2 ulcers. Stand-up comedian Larry Tompkins says at 28, he already has 2 ulcers. 2 ulcers. 2 ulcers. 2 ulcers. He calls Farley a comic genius whose death ironically paralleled other former Saturday Night Live superstars. Like John Candy, Farley overate. Candy died of a heart attack at age 43. But it was comedian John Belushi who Farley idolized.
He taped one of his eyebrows up when he'd walk up and down the hallways of SNL so that he could look like John Belushi. Not to say that he wanted to die, nobody wants to die, but when you idolize somebody, you want to live that lifestyle.
Belushi died of a drug overdose. Like Farley, he was 33 years old.
The thing that's led to their success, their excessiveness, is the same thing that's leading to their demise.
Obesity expert Dr. Louis Aroni says Farley simply didn't take care of himself.
It's a classic combination for bad health that we see in many kinds of entertainers because of the pressure to perform, the pressure to be on all the time. And in these particular people, it's compounded by their drug, their alcohol abuse, and their obesity.
And I will see you guys next time. This is Ryely Laurence for BornToKillComedy.com. I'll see you next time. Fat guy in a little suit.